26, From the Heart to the Soul with Timeline Sherpa Christine McDowell. So I started this show to spread the empowering word of transformation, to share transformational stories from around the globe, stories of people who have transformed their own lives and are now paying that back by guiding and assisting others to transform theirs, or people who have dedicated most of their life to transforming, guiding and assisting people to transform their lives. So today I have the pleasure of talking with Christine. Christine is a timeline Sherpa who has gone from being a crazy top salesperson to finding the meaning of happiness, a path which many may be on. So Christine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, lovelies. My name is Christine McDowell. I am here in British Columbia, Canada. I am very happy to be here. I'm not sure if I am here, but I think I am. I just have to pinch myself sometimes to realize that I am here. Yes, I am here. Hi, Matt. Nice to see you again.
Thank you. Yeah, lovely to see you. Oh, hi, Dan Woodrow. So thanks for joining us. And everyone else, if you want to say hi, we will say hi back to you. Yeah, so Christine, I'm really interested about one specific thing. Where did the name Timeline Sherpa come from?
Well, it's just, I never like to coin myself or say I am this specifically, because since we're constantly moving and changing, we're never the same. So we all have timelines. At least this is how the mind likes to store its journey, its journeys. There's so many different timelines that we're on. And the work that I do with people is to help them navigate through these timelines to discover and remember who they are by healing the things or the aspects of themselves that are kind of buried on each of these different timelines. And a Sherpa is someone who will take you to places that you have never been. And you kind of have to trust the Sherpa because they kind of like know where they're going, hopefully, as you maneuver through the mountains.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's how I came up with Timeline Sherpa, to let people know that it's not that confusing. And when you, excuse me, when you work with someone and they resonate with you, there's a trust, there's a surrender. And from there, you just become like a butterfly and allow yourself to go with the flow and remember, because it's about remembering. It's not learning, because you already know everything you need to know. It's just that we have been conditioned, or it's almost like a heavy veil that has been placed upon us, that through our lives, we kind of open that veil and peek out and go, what is this? Where are we? Who am I? And then for myself, I went through that veil so many times that it scared the crap out of me that I went back under the veil and said, I'm not going out anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's, yeah. So that's how the Timeline Sherpa came to be. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I love it. I mean, I knew what a Sherpa was, and obviously I knew what a timeline was, and so my mind was everywhere. And also people also commented on how they liked it as well when I shared the event, and they really liked the name and everything. So can I just ask anyone who's listening, is the sound okay for you? Because I know one person's having trouble, and I don't have an up volume for the output on this. It's all down to really Facebook and our microphones, and nothing's changed. Yeah, so thank you for your awesome feedback. Anyway, so yeah, amazing stuff. And so talking of timelines, on this specific timeline, now I know you're in British Columbia now. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Montreal. In 2020, I decided to sell my house of 31 years and sell 90% of the content and drive across Canada, which was 5,000 miles. I had no idea where I was going, but I knew it was British Columbia, and I wasn't sure why. And when I arrived in British Columbia, I still wasn't 100% sure. But I think what happened with myself is that, like most people, we do become rather complacent. And we look at our life and go, well, if this is it. But sometimes we need to give ourselves a good kick in the ass. And I know that there's a lot of people that feel this need to move and they're not sure where. So I think with everything, again, it's the biggest thing is about trust and surrender. It's trusting in God, Divine Mother, Divine Father, whoever you want to, however you coin it. And sometimes we think we are trusting, and then we realize we're not, because it really is. It's crazy how we get locked into the ethers and we have no concept of anything. We just keep doing the same thing. So yeah, so 2020, I'm now here in British Columbia, and it's a lovely place.
So yeah, so that wasn't so long ago. I mean, we're talking 3 years ago, and you said it's funny how we get locked into the same things and we just do them over and over again. What caused the change? What caused the move?
I really don't know. I go back to that day, or that couple of months before I was moving, and there was a couple of times where I looked in and said, what am I doing? And I had friends that thought I was absolutely mad. Why are you selling your house? You've lived here for so long. This is your whole life. I mean, 67 years living in Quebec and just packing up and going, I guess was insane. But I think that for myself, it really was, as I said, it was about being so complacent with my life and knowing that I had a purpose, but I didn't know what it was. And then you get to a point where you just say, well, does it really matter? Because it's like, I have to do this. I have to be a salesperson. I have to be a mother. I have to be, so it's all these things you have to be. But when you walk out of that, when you step out of those titles and labels, the question is then, who are you? Because then you start to live for yourself. You start to be you without being pushed and shoved and told what you have to do. And I think that is the scariest thing for most people, because, I use the example is that someone who's an alcoholic, when you decide that you no longer want to be an alcoholic and you want to leave your group, they get really nasty and they make you feel really unloved, and how could you, and you're abandoning us, and this guilt comes in, and it's like, oh my God, they're all going to disown me, they're not going to like me, and I'm going to be on my own. But you're on your own anyway. So it's the bravery, and that, I was speaking with someone the other day, and I said, you forget the courage you have. And I think this is what we've all forgotten, is that when you look back at your life, think of all the times that you've moved through some really interesting situations and you had the courage to do it. So come back to your bravery and your courage. It's just, it's within us and we forget.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it is a really good point you make there about how when people don't support you in doing the things you want, whether it's move away or these kind of things, they lay a guilt trip, we call it in the UK, a guilt trip on you of, oh, you're abandoning us and all these things. And really what you're not aware of at the time, because they're pulling your emotional heartstrings, is that they're not supporting you anyway. Exactly. They're not there for you because they're now not there supporting you. They're not there at all. And it's really interesting. So one thing that really stuck with me was you said that often people feel the need to move, but they don't know where. But you knew to move to BC. How did you know? How did you even discover BC? Or, how was it something you'd seen? Or
years ago, I had been here. being in real estate, we had conventions here, but it was, you were in a building and you didn't get out. I don't know. I to this day, I really don't know why it was BC, but I think it was, I think it also, well, it had probably a lot to do with the energy here, the air, the mountains, the country. It's not as dense. One thing I noticed when I was driving across Canada, the closer I got to BC, the lighter it got. You know, it wasn't as heavy. So, and I think for each of us, for myself, I needed to be in a place where my soul had the ability to expand itself into a knowingness to helping me to remember who I am. So I went from being a really active, busy person to living almost like a hermit in a way. But you see, I had to do that. I had to go deep within inside of myself to unpack all those memories there were stories that had kept me a prisoner of my mind. And when I work with people, I can only share with them and I can only show them a different perspective, because you know, you kind of grow up in life and it's everyone's pointing at you saying you're wrong, you can't do this. They're looking, you look at your life as mistakes. And when you step out of that and you start seeing your life was not a mistake, there's nothing in your life that was an error. Everything that has happened to me happened for a purpose, to awaken me. And, you know, some people say they've awakened, but, you know, I have to say the last 2 years, I've gone through so many different levels of awakening. It's just not, I'm here now. You're not. As soon as you say you're here now, it's like, boom, you get knocked off your feet again because you're not. You know, it's a constant arrival. It's a constant, it's the surrender, and it's the trust. And I can't, I know a lot of people are so stuck on source, divine mother, divine father. People don't even want to go there because, again, that's all conditioning. It's how we've been conditioned. You know, the church has had so much control over us. But you see, it's not. My church is here. It's in my heart. I am divine. I am divinity. You know, it's not outside of me. Everything is, people are so trapped on outside of stuff, but it's not outside of you. It's within you. And the only way you're going to discover that is trying to be honest with yourself. Again, you know, it's just the lies we tell us. We tell ourselves lies, you know,
Well, I think we get in the habit of telling ourselves lies because we know something's wrong, and it's the only way we can kind of deal with that is, you know, covering up the fact that it just doesn't feel right, and distraction, and some people self-medicate, whether it's drinking or smoking and all these kind of things. And we just get in the habit, like you say, it's years of conditioning. How do you deal with these things? And so when you left Montreal, did you know you were on a quest for happiness? To find happiness?
Well, when I was in real estate, when I started my career in the early 90s, I was making a lot of money. And I had a marriage that failed, and I was never wanted to be seen as a failure because I had to come out fighting, especially in the sales world, being a woman. And there was something I was always looking for, and it was happiness. And it didn't matter how much money I had, didn't matter what I bought, it wasn't there. And I was searching for love. What the hell is this friggin' love? Why can't I get it? Am I not lovable? What's wrong with me? Am I not good enough? I mean, all those beautiful stories. So at the peak of my career, I left it. And again, people just, there she goes, the mad lady. And I went on this quest of finding out what is this happiness that people talk about? What is love? And I would say in the last couple of years, probably in the last 5 years, I really began to have a feeling as to what love is. You know, so people think it's not a verb.
Hmm.
Love to me is like, if you look at a word, if you take a cup and you put joy and happiness and wonder and harmony and peace and kindness, and just keep putting all those beautiful words in a cup, that cup is love. That is everything that you desire is in that cup. It's not something you can buy. No one can buy it for you.
No.
So for me, happiness, again, it's knowing that it's within you.
Mhm.
And you're not alone. It's there. It's, you know, again, going back to love, because love has been tromped on, pulled and stretched, and it's got to fit here and buy this diamond ring and have this beautiful house. And, you know, people stay in relationships because they want to be loved, but no one can love you. I tell this to people. I said, no one can love you. The only person that can love you is you.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, and I mean, I can tell you all the things that I was labeled and told, and as I was growing up, and it's it's just, again, it's all divinely timed. It's perfect, because everything that I had to walk into was just reminding me, helping me to reawaken to yet another level. So, and the deeper I went within me, the deeper the happiness, the joy, the harmony, the peace. That cup within me just is growing, and it's constantly growing, and it expands. So the beauty of it is, as I was growing up, my parents would say, my mother would say, if you don't behave, we won't love you today. So as a child, I kept hearing that, you
Yeah.
know, and then when my marriage failed, it's like, oh, I'm a failure, and no, he has to leave me because he doesn't love me. So you see, I was making everyone responsible for how I was feeling. And we're
Yeah.
not taught this. We're not taught to say, you know, if you want to feel a certain way, then go do it. You know,
No.
find it within yourself. It's, if everyone stopped buying things to fill a void within themselves, that we wouldn't have so much landfill. People buy things and they get so bored of it. Oh, I'm so sick of this. I'm not going to use it for
Yes.
anymore. You know, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's never going to fill a hole. I mean, yeah, I've been on a similar journey to you. I've really looked into love, and I think, yeah, as you mentioned earlier, the conditioning that we've had over thousands of years has misled us into forming a lot of beliefs that don't really support what love truly is. And you can't really love another until you love yourself. And only when you love yourself can you really and love this gift that we've been given, this experience here. Can you really feel unconditional love and let it flow? And like you say, it's to do with other things, the peace, the joy, the happiness. It's to do with having all these things and seeing all these things and being happy with yourself. So do you think that it's necessary or beneficial to be alone to really find yourself?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think at some point in your day, you need to take that 5-minute break or that 10-minute break. You need to step out of the chaos. You see, because you had said before, distraction, and it's Right now, there's so much happening on the planet. I don't know if your viewers are feeling a lot of energy, which is creating a lot of chaos. Some people might be feeling rather ill. Right now, it's focusing a lot on the head and the stomach area. Might feel a lot of body pain. It's just there's so much energy coming on the planet, and the energy is good. It's here to support us. And there is the outer world that has been trying so desperately to keep us in our little cage, our little hamster cage. And we run around in the wheel and we go to work and we pay our bills and we eat and we, it's just this constant life that people thought they were living. And as more and more people awaken and become more loving and kind to themselves, then they become kind and loving to others. The distractions are going to get stronger. So there's going to be more fear, like this is happening or that's happening in the world. 99.9% of that media out there, that social media, is false. So the distraction, you need to stop being distracted. I understand you have to work and you have to, do your whatever you do on a daily basis. But when you come from your heart and you're kind and you're caring, it changes the energy around you and beyond you. When you stay so focused in that and you don't take the time to go within, then everything's distracting you from you. You have to come back to you. You have to come back to your heart. You have to come back to kindness. So as we move through the next, I don't know how many years, but the distractions will get a lot worse. And again, it's like a withdrawal. I remember when I stopped reading a newspaper, it was years ago. And people said, well, Christine, how are you going to be informed? I said, I don't care, whatever. If I have to know about it, it's going to show up and bite me in the nose. But other than that, I don't need to know. So it really is stepping off. It's bravery again. It's the courage. It's not what if. It's like, how will my life be different? Like if people get stuck in the government, what's going on with the government? I can't do this. I can't. It's all a distraction. No one controls you. You control yourself. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to realize. And that's where the surrender is. It's like, for years, I'd go to bed and I have my hand on my heart and I would just thank Divine Mother for all that she does for me, for the food that I eat, the water I drink, flushing toilets, clean air, the simplest things in life that you hold gratitude for, then they keep showing up. But if you're going to sit in the negative stuff and always focusing on it, you're just creating that more and more and more. So yes, you need to spend time on your own. If that means walking in the woods or taking your shoes off and walking on the grass, just breathe, 5-minute meditation. Because you see, you're like, an example I was telling someone the other day, I said, you probably put more effort in keeping your car running well and looking really nice, like you polish it, clean it, and you make sure it gets its oil change and its battery updated. Do you do that for yourself? And they look at me and they go, what? I said, when was the last time you took time for yourself? When you put so much pride in a car, that's just a stupid material thing. How much pride do you put into you? How to stand in front of a mirror and say, I'm incredibly awesome. Doesn't matter what you look like, whether you've got a crooked nose or you're too fat or too skinny, who cares? Again, that's falling into a billboard saying, well, I don't look like her and I don't have that car and I don't have it. That is all distractions again. So the more you step off that treadmill you call life, then you become more empowered. I was speaking with a client the other night and I said, you need to start loving yourself. You need to start standing up for you. Start saying no. start saying, what you just said to me just doesn't feel right. Leave the conversation, leave the room. Yeah, but I can't. I said, why not? Well, because, I'll really piss them off. And I said, well, that's good. But I'll hurt their feelings. I said, yeah, but your feelings are being hurt right now. When are you going to stand up for you? What has to happen? Do you have to get run over by a friggin' steamroller before you stand up and say no? Because that's respect. That is respecting yourself, saying, and that's what I was telling him. I said, all you are doing when you start to say no to someone with kindness, you don't have to throw knives at them. Just be kind and just say, look, I'm really sorry. I know I put up with that behavior for years, but now it's done. I need you to speak kindly to me. And if you can't, that's okay. I'm just going to leave the room. And if you want to speak kindly to me later, I'm here for you. And yes, you'll piss the hell off of them because you see, they are locked in their journey. But the more you tell them, then you chip away their concrete wall that has prevented them from seeing their truth. It's just, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going all over the map.
No, it's good. I mean, I think it's a really good example of the conditioning here is that quite often we are conditioned to believe that we have to consider everyone else's feelings and we can't make a choice for ourselves by deciding that I'm not comfortable here, I'm going to leave. And also that somebody might be hurt or have their feelings hurt because somebody left when it was their choice to do what they wanted because they, so it is an interesting place we've got to. You talked a lot about going within. So this is what the term people use is inner work. So what kind of things are inner work? How do you start going within? Where's a good place to start?
So what I started to do a long time ago when I was younger, and I really didn't understand why I was doing it. There's a lot, when you start to look at your life, what you've done in the past, and you don't understand it, and you look at it now, you begin to see it. So I used to have a little guy here, and it was a little black guy, and he was the devil. And this one over here was the angel. She was white. So black and white. And I'd have a conversation with these two little gaffers. And I didn't realize that I was speaking to me. It was just insane. But you know what? It's just, because I was always told that I was crazy. And I thought, well, maybe I am. I didn't know what crazy meant, but I know I'm crazy now. So this is great. So the conversation, and this is what I say to people. You spend more time talking to other people and you're not listening to the conversation. No one listens to conversations. They all want to just sit there and jump in and add their 2 cents. I walk in the woods, and I used to do this a long time ago too, and I never understood why I did it. But I would talk out loud. I would cry out loud. I would say, why is this going on? What's happening? Does nobody love me? And these are the conversations I would have. And then what started to happen is I started to notice an interesting vibration coming up through the body, through my heart. And I don't remember exactly when, but it was over time that it just got stronger and stronger. And it was almost like I nearly jumped out of my body going, what is going on? So you see, the conversations that I was having with this and that was the conversations I was having with the aspects, the inner child within me. Children that sit there and talk to themselves. And I remember my parents saying, you're weird because you're talking to yourself. But yeah, I didn't realize, but when you're told you're weird, then you stop doing it and you shut down. So I shut down on it. So the aspects of you, of how you connect with yourself is the conversation. So when you're sitting in a bath, just start talking. When you look in the mirror, just say, hello, lovely, how are you? All the answers you seek are within you. So if you had a question and you were not, it's like, I don't know what to do here. Show me. You know how many times I've sat driving across BC, I go, what the fuck am I doing here? Someone tell me what the hell I'm doing. And it was just like I could just feel this wave of, it was like a hand coming down and patting me on the back and saying, we've got you. You're okay. So, oh, I start to cry. It's you know, everything that you need, the connections you need are within you, and that is what you have to do. You have to start going within. And it's not complicated. I mean, we've been so conditioned that you have to have years of therapy, that you're absolutely mad, and it's going to cost you $400 per hour. Oh, give me a fucking break. Oops.
No, I couldn't agree more.
It drives me crazy. The people out there that say they're going to change your life, they aren't going to change your life. You
No.
have to know that you have the ability. You might need some guidance to work you through that maze, but you have the answers. So the conversations, when you go inside of yourself and starts having an honest conversation, it really is, your body will respond. It starts to tingle, and it's like all those little aspects within you are just going, oh my God, she's listening, he's listening. Oh, we've got their attention. You know, so that is the inner work, and
Right.
it will bring you back to respecting and being honest with yourself and being open with you.
Mm-hmm. I really love it, actually, because I couldn't agree more from my own experience how important it is to hear yourself and not just thinking, actually hearing your own voice. I actually was diagnosed with depression at 13, and I was too young to know any. Well, I was guided to go to a psychiatrist and talked and talked and talked, and you know, eventually it was hearing myself that was probably the first healing factor. It's like I basically learned a lot. I've been conditioned in a certain way to just complain a lot and be a victim. And I suddenly realized that, yeah. And I'm like, I'm sick of hearing myself now after quite a few years, yeah. And it was quite a realization was, you ever going to shut up? It's like, but I actually created a connection with myself, and I realized that I didn't have problems and stuff. And it was only from hearing my own voice. And then even now, like you say, like we're conditioned to believe that talking to yourself is the first sign of madness. When really the first sign of madness, or the only sign of madness, is trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah,
that's probably the
point. Yes.
the only sign of madness. So apart from, you know, but yeah, even now I like to think things out loud.
Yes.
Because I get a lot more clarity about it. I mean,
Yes.
you know, and yeah, I think, you know, the tingling feeling you're talking about as well is what I've learned to understand as intuition.
Yes.
Yeah, intuition, that deep knowing that your body and your soul or your energy
Your
knows.
body.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it sends you that tingling feeling through things. And many people hone that. And I
Well,
think
you know, it is an art, because I was speaking with someone, and she was telling me, well, how do I know if I need, you know, she said, I need to go out and take all these different kind of vitamins. I know they're, you know, keep showing up, and I must have the deficiency. And I said, why don't you just look at the vitamin that you want, ask your body if it needs it. She went, what? I said, if you close your eyes and ask your body, do I need this? You'll feel a vibration in the body. And then ask your body, do I not need this? And if you don't feel the vibration, then it's something you don't need. You know, we rely on so many people to make those decisions. Again, I'm going to come back to this. The answers you seek are within you. I can't tell you what to do. Figure it out. Yeah. We're so sensory perceptive, but because alcohol, drugs, marijuana, whatever, they have numbed everybody's senses, so you can't feel. You know, you talk about words. I'll read certain posts that have meaning, and I will read it out loud, because the word carries an energy too.
Yes.
So, it's sometimes you have to, it's like even working with someone. Just because somebody shows up in your space does not necessarily mean that person is there to guide you. Could be as simple as saying, can you go inside of yourself and see if this person resonates with you without jumping? That was probably one of my biggest mistakes in life. It wasn't a mistake. It was there were costly learnings where I would jump into doing something and then halfway through it, spending what amount of money going, what is this? So it's trusting. It's going back into the body and just hand on your heart and say, okay, I need help here. Is this what I need to do? And feel the body. And your answer will be there. And the more times you do it, as you said, you hone into it. It just becomes natural. You won't be asking the question anymore. Your body is going to tell you before you even finish the sentence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I practice this regularly.
Yes.
All throughout the day when making decisions that I haven't got a clear idea which one I want. And yeah, I tend to get the signal, but like you say, sometimes I get the signal before I finish speaking and I'm like, you haven't heard the next one yet. You haven't heard the options, and so I have to run through it again. But generally, yeah, it does happen. Really, really interesting. So earlier on, you talked about there are no mistakes. How did there are no mistakes, we don't make mistakes, everything, and I agree, everything is a lesson, everything is there to guide us and put us on the right path. How what led you to that conclusion in the end? How did you
that's an incredibly good question, because I really don't remember exactly. What I do recall is that I was always being told that I was making mistakes and I was wrong. And I didn't like not being wrong. I want to be right. Always had to be right, no matter what. So I think that it kept showing up as I was growing up. It's like your parents saying, you do this, and I would go, nah, I'm going to do that just because I want to piss you off. And basically that's what I was doing. But then because I did it the opposite, I was discovering more things about myself. So the more you begin to discover more about yourself, then you begin to break down all that right and wrong, because everything led me to discovering more about myself. So it's, sometimes when I'm working with people, I say, do your best not to tell children to go right. Allow the child to go right or left or straight up. Who cares? Because the child you need to experience it. Because how are you going to know? If you don't know what it's like to jump into a pool, how are you ever going to experience it until you jump into the pool? It's like fear. Most of the people that fear things, again, that's conditioning. But if you went beyond the fear and went on the other side of the fear, there would be no fear.
Yes.
So if it's like someone would say to me, and I remember years ago, I used to do these posts, which door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. And seriously, me, when I was married, I drove Richard mad, because he would say, we're going to do this. And I would go and ask 20 people. And I would kind of take a poll and say, well, okay, 8 people said no, the other 12 said yes. So we'll go with the 12. So, but if it didn't work, then I'd get pissed off at the other 12. That's one way of not taking responsibility. So how to discover what is right or wrong, it doesn't matter. And I would say to people, it doesn't matter if you go right or left. Wherever you go is where you need to be. Wherever you show up is exactly where you need to be.
Yeah.
And someone else might say, well, that was pretty dumb. And because you see where they are at, they're on a different timeline.
Yeah.
People are not all on the same timeline. You know, so if you're going one way and someone says, well, that's pretty lame, you have to understand, but that's not their mindset. You need to, this is your journey, this is your timeline, this is your path.
Yeah.
And wherever you show up is perfect.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I like the thing that really made me, I'd already accepted that, like, we can choose what we want to do in this life, in this world. We invented all these other, everything we currently call the world on Mother Earth. And, you know, we can choose to do what we want. There isn't really any right or wrong. There's just events and actions, you know.
Right.
And it was only when I actually did an NLP course that I was put with the preposition of there are no wrong actions, only the right actions for that level of consciousness.
Right.
And I was like, how can that be? You know, somebody murders somebody, blah, blah, blah. And then like all the answers came to me because I asked that question.
Yes.
You know, all the answers came. I then got a book on transactional analysis. I also solved it for myself, suddenly saw it. That, for me, enabled me to forgive myself for so many things in my life when I realized that I was doing what I thought was right. And one of the things, you know, often people say is, yeah, but you should have known better. And I think this is a really important thing, is there's knowing, and then there's, as my friend Sil would say, capital K, knowing. So until you put it into action and done it, you don't really know. Yeah, you've got a bit of information stored in your brain that says that's not a good idea. And the things you were talking about is, this is something I teach many people, and the way I look at the world is that we have made so many mistakes that we know what not to do in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've got, okay, it's going to take time for people to get out of that conditioning and change their stories. But yeah, we know. And for, you know, forgiveness for me, forgiving myself and learning to forgive others was really crucial. Do you find forgiveness is an important part of the journey?
Oh, it was massive. You know, even when because years and years and years ago, when I was married, we went into therapy, and I had no concept of therapy, but I listened to this lady and I thought, she's absolutely mad. If anything, she should be sitting in my chair and I should be telling her what to do. And again, it's the therapy out there saying, well, you have to go and forgive them, and you know, have them forgive you, and write out all these incredible long silly letters of forgiveness. But it's not about forgiving anybody. You know, it's like they signed up to wake you up, and there's nothing that would be put on your plate that you can't handle. Nothing. So all these people you absolutely hate, you need to go give them a hug and say thank you because you woke me up. They might not understand. So the forgiveness is from within again. It's not out. Nothing is outside of you. The forgiveness is, why don't you forgive yourself for not being the perfect person? Forgive yourself for not being, you know, Bridget Bardot or Steve McQueen. Forgive yourself for not being the brain surgeon. Forgive yourself for being you. I mean, that's what you need to do. You have to forgive yourself. You know, I was so hard on me. I put myself down. I tore myself apart. I judged myself from inside out. I needed to be perfect, because that's what was drilled into me. I had to go inside of myself and forgive myself to help me realize that I didn't need to be perfect.
Yes.
I would walk through the woods, and when I started to say, I love you to myself, and when I put myself down, I could literally feel my heart cringe, like it felt my whole chest was caving in. So every time I put myself down, I had to stop myself, put my hand on my heart, and literally say, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Ho'opono is incredible. I love the Ho'opono. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I would say that so many times to myself. I am sorry I beat you up. Please forgive me for all the times I kicked you in the ass and treated you so poorly. Thank you for being me, and I love you. Because you see, these are all aspects of yourself that are only showing up that want you to forgive them within you and to love you for who you are. Not what's outside, it's what's inside. You know, we're, again, this is conditioning. You have to look a certain way. You know, you have to have the perfect figure and the perfect wife or the perfect husband in a perfect house in a perfect world.
Yeah,
The
ridiculous
perfection you
stuff.
seek is within you.
Mm.
When you can go from inside. So I pointed something out to someone the other day. I said, it's not my, you don't say my body. It's not your body. It's the body. You are a spirit living within this vessel. What is it you're doing for the body? How long do you want to be on this planet for? Are you treating the body with kindness? Are you feeding it properly? The body is your vehicle. So, but you see, we are so labeled on saying, yes, but I have to look a certain, no, the body is a vehicle that was given to you to live within without judgment.
Yeah.
You know, people who are who's struggling with weight, they want to lose weight. If they don't like themselves, they'll never lose the weight. But if you can love yourself the way you are, inside out, skinny, fat, who gives a shit? If you can just love every aspect of yourself, you'll lose weight.
Yeah.
I used to be 13, 14 size. When I left Montreal, I was probably sitting around 8, 9. I have never been on a diet since I've been here, but now I've gone down to a size 6. Because you
Wow.
see, I started to love myself at a deeper level and started to realize that I'm okay. This vehicle that I love and respect, that is helping me move through life. So, you know, everything that you seek is within you. The power you hold is within your hands.
Yeah.
Your heart is there and it's just totally loving you and wanting you to love you. And only you can do that. I can't do that for you.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's quite a lot of comments here, and so Dan's been following along and everything. And there was somebody mentioned, I think it might have been Dan, about how social media is misinformation. Oh, you said it earlier, didn't you? Social media is misinformation. Now, I actually look at that's the problem, or what's causing us to. It's not a problem, but that's what's causing us to sort of
React.
to have been so misled is
Yes.
misinformation for millennia, and whether that's manipulated, or I don't do conspiracy theories anymore. I'm not interested. I'm interested in the future and being as happy as I can in the present. That's all I'm interested in. You know, what's happened has happened. We can learn from it, as we've already mentioned today. But yeah, ultimately, like, if each child was born into the world having been given this information and taught to learn to accept themselves rather than compare themselves and judge themselves and be seen as never good enough, then we'd live in a very different world with a lot less health problems. Like you were saying, people would lose weight. People would have just generally a lot less health problems if they were brought up to accept themselves from the beginning, as far as I believe. And so what is acceptance to you, and how do we start to accept ourselves more?
It's the judgment. You have to let go of all the judgment. You know, it's looking in the mirror and saying, hi, gorgeous. no matter what you feel. You
Mm.
know, the first time years ago when I was on this quest of what was happiness, I can't remember, but somebody had said to me, go stand in the mirror and look at yourself in the eyes and tell yourself, I love you. And I looked at him and I said, well, that's really easy. Because I was just, I was not a very nice person back then. And I had to prove everyone wrong. So I figured that's going to be simple to do. So I went home and I stood because I'm determined, you see, I'm going to prove them wrong. And I'm standing in front of the mirror. And I remember looking into the mirror and I went, and it stopped right there. I couldn't even say, love you. And I was grateful because I didn't wear a lot of makeup. So I didn't have to stand in front of the mirror. So I got on this bandwagon and said, I'm determined to make this work, no matter, because it was really uncomfortable. It was like, oh my gosh, I hated eating Brussels sprouts. It must have been like eating a truck of Brussels sprouts to stand in front of a mirror and say, I love you. So I wrote out all these Post-its and I said, I love you. And I put them all over my house, the computer, the mirrors, the windows where I watch TV, everywhere. And I made a commitment to myself. I said, okay, look, this can't be so friggin' difficult. What the hell? Why is this so hard to do? And I said, okay, we're going to, every time we see a sign, I would take the sign off and I'd read it out loud. I love you. And I didn't feel a thing. I said, well, this is really dumb. But there's this voice inside of me, this little tiny little voice said, you can do this. And I, you know, it's like everything else I had done in my life, I was persistent. But you see, even that took time, but I was persistent. So that was the acceptance. The acceptance is saying, you know, I was told such horrible things when I was a child, and I'm grateful for it because it was all bullshit anyway. But I had to get to this place where I say, well, it was all bullshit. But you have to break through those stories. They're all there. They're supporting you, whether you like it or not, but they're your stories. So get out of them. Stop playing the role of the friggin' victim. Anyway, so the acceptance is from, again, it's coming back within.
Yeah.
It's if it means that much to you, then go get the friggin' Post-its, stick them all over the place. And start conditioning yourself, because it's just lifetimes. It's not just this lifetime. It's lifetimes of being conditioned of not loving yourself, not accepting yourself, not appreciating yourself. Always looking outside of yourself for that acceptance, that appreciation, that love. Everything was outside of yourself. Of course, you have no control with what goes on outside. None. No. The only control is within.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was like an awakening moment for me in 2020 is when I did the circle of control and influence, where you write a circle on the page and in the middle you write all the things that you control and then the things that you influence. And then also this had a third circle, which was other things that you don't even influence on the outside of the circle. And yeah, for me, what it led me to discover was I only control my thoughts, words, and actions. Right. And lots of people disagree with me about the thoughts, but what I often have to remind them is my thoughts are actually like generated by all the things I've let into my mind. Yeah. So all the television I've watched and programs I've watched and conspiracies I've believed and places I've gone and experiences I've had, they create the thoughts now. Right. So I do control them because I can go, okay, I recognize where you come from and I don't stop it. I know to let my thoughts flow, but from now on, I produce better thoughts based on the things I choose to consume and the things I choose to and the way I look at things. And I love your post-it note story, because actually I got over depression. The final stage of getting over depression was with post-it notes. So I did CBT, and I wrote on the I had some yellow and orange post-it notes, and on the yellow notes I wrote the thoughts that I was still having that I didn't really weren't supporting me, and then on the orange notes I wrote better support thoughts, and I stuck them on my wall and just reminded myself of them every time they went. And yeah, that was like the really helpful way to get over depression. Led to some other things, because I didn't know about choosing opposite beliefs at the time. So I chose some extreme opposites of where I was before, but really love that. And so inner work is like healing, right? Is that, yeah? And so how do you heal and go through all those things without judging yourself, without judgment?
You know, it's like anything. It's the more you do it, the easier it becomes. You know, so the more you put post-its up and say it to yourself, you know, I'd be driving in my car and I'd be stuck at a light, and I would start yelling out, and I would be mad at something. I love you. I love you. No, I don't. Yes, I do. I love you. Because it's what I had to do. It's, you know, so again, everything comes back to you. It's changing. Like, I love what you're saying. It's switching it over. You know, it's having a thought, and like times I would be walking through the woods and I just want to be there. And then a thought would come across my mind, which would take me right out of the woods. And then I would say, no, you know, I'd let that thought go and I'd find myself somewhere else. And then I would have to literally stop and say, okay, that's enough. We're in the woods. We're being peaceful. I will have a conversation with you when I get in the car. Right now, this is my time. So bugger off. So this is one of the things that I had to do to stop my mind from pulling me down into that lovely rabbit hole. You know, you asked me a question, I think I lost it.
Yeah, no worries. No, it's really good. So how can we notice we're judging? So how is healing? What is healing without judgment? So how can we heal without judging ourselves? That was the question.
Exactly. But that's the healing, eh? The healing is to stop the judgment.
Yes.
The ego has been, I mean, for years, I was hard on the ego, and I would tell it to fuck off and get a life, and really, really, really hard. The ego's real purpose is to heal the body, and is to help the body run and breathe and blood flowing and all the sensory perceptions that we have. This is the ego. The ego is a vital part of who we are. But you see, the ego, in actual fact, at least how I work with it, is like a spoiled, rotten child. And the ego has had full reign to run everything, the body and your thoughts. So because of the programming within me, I allowed the ego to run its thoughts and run me crazy and make me feel insane. And it was just really doing its job to pull me away from my heart. So when I started to realize that the ego is not bad, then I started to have a conversation with the ego and started treating the ego as an important aspect of me. Because you see, the ego is also part of the whole process, because without the ego, the body wouldn't function. I mean, do you go inside of your body and say, well, don't forget we have to breathe, and heart, keep pumping the blood, because no, you're not doing that. The ego is running the body. You run your mind. You decide what you want to think or feel. That's within your power. So like you said, it's like and I thought it was a really good example, is that, you know, if something came in your head saying, oh, this is absolutely asinine and I'm so stupid, and you catch yourself, then you could say, what do I want to say instead? Oh, this is interesting what I've just come across. maybe there's an importance to it. Maybe I should stand back and look at it and see it from a different perspective, because that's what I do with people, is I pull them out of their story and give them a different perspective. And they go, damn, I never saw it that way. And then they feel empowered because the answer is there.
Mm.
So your thoughts are not you. Your heart is you. Your divinity is you. But when you start realizing the power that you have with your thoughts and your life, then guess what? You're in control. And you're not being controlled. And I don't want to sit here and say to you that I'm perfect and I've got it all figured out, because no, every time I say, well, I feel like I've got it, then I just get slapped by the cross of my back of the head, knocked off my seat, back on my ass, and then poof, then I'm starting on, then it's to a next level. Because you know, people say, does it ever end? I said, no. It ends probably the day you transition.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But then again,
exactly.
probably not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You just start again. No, I mean, I'm so I so in alignment. So I kind of sort of have lots of theories is the way I look at it. I can't conclude anything because things are always changing. So, but what you're saying about the ego there is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, because of my depression and everything, and then finding out the causes of it and then working through it. I mean, I started looking at ego, and like we have all these terms like vain and narcissistic and all these things. And like you're saying here, the ego controls the body. The ego is the control. And the way I see it is we control the thoughts. Is we inadvertently started to program our ego, which is part of our survival instinct that keeps us alive, to see status as survival. How we're seen and how we're perceived is what we need more than fulfilling our basic needs. And so the ego's gone a bit haywire because that's what we've told it. You know, we've told it, I've got to look like this. My car's got to look good. That story you were telling me about spending more time looking after the car, and people's health. I mean, I see so many people masking their health through makeup and clothes and all these things. And really, they're not looking after themselves at all. But nobody's telling them that because they're too busy looking at their clothes and being, you know, and it's all to do with this status thing. This is who I am. None of it's real. It's all perceived. And this is what you're saying about changing the perceptions. So yeah, so aligned with that. And
you know, if women, sorry,
that's
just
right.
a little footnote, if women stopped wearing makeup totally, just stopped wearing makeup and started to be true to themselves, their body would probably start to heal, because that's so much poison going into the body. And women that put the fake nails on, that's a poison that's going into the body. So I say to people, I say, that is your body. However long you want to be on this planet, and whatever you put into it, you have to realize that there is a cause and effect. So, you know, a lot of women say, well, my skin is dry. Well, yeah, you've got all that crappy makeup you put on that the skin cannot process that. And it's the same with alcohol and drugs and stuff. You know, it's the body cannot process it. And so it goes into overdrive, you know, so yeah, it's.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, I so relate to a lot of this, and like I said earlier, if this was given to children at a younger age, how the health problems would be, and the recycling problems, and so many of the world's problems, if we didn't need so many things to fill the holes that are perceived holes within us, the lack of acceptance, then yeah, there would be so little waste. So how can we stop judging ourselves? You know, what can we do to stop judging ourselves?
It's an awareness. So for me, because I judge myself poorly, and can rattle them off. You're ugly, you're useless, you'll never amount to anything, no one will love me, I'm too fat, just everything, and I'm useless, and I failed here. Every time I made that, because I made a commitment. I said, the only way I'm going to change the way how I feel is I need to change the way I speak to myself. So again, it's the determination to do that. So I would catch myself whenever I put myself down. I would put my hand on my heart and I would say, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And it just, you see, you're all the aspects within you. To me, I call them your orphans. And this is a lot of the work that I do, is to help you to integrate all the little orphans within you who have been ignored, pushed away, shoved, and all they want is your attention. They want you to love them within you, because the more you love them, then the more you love you. So when I would say I'm ugly, or when someone would say to me, I feel really ugly. So then what I would do is I would help them go into that aspect of themselves, that part of themselves, and have a conversation with that part to help that part to realize that who said ugly anyway? Where does that come from? Do you not realize? So it's like, you know, when I work with clients, I say to them, I want you to imagine, and so your listeners, if you have said something to yourself that is not caring or loving, and it comes across being really hard, let's take, I'm ugly. So I would say, it again, take the white guy and the black guy. So I'm ugly and I'm not so ugly. So you put them both on your hand and you start having conversation with both of them. So it's a child. So an example I would say, can you imagine adopting a child who has been in a foster homes, 8 of them, let's say, and it's been abused, locked in a closet, ignored, told to shut up. And then all of a sudden, this child is 7 or 8 years old, and that's all it knows is anger and hatred, and nobody loves me. And here you come in, being the loving person that you are, and saying, oh, I'm just going to adopt this child and I'm going to fix it. And I say to them, I say, this child has been abused for 7 years, constantly. And you're going to walk in a minute and convince it that you're going to take care of it and love it. Do you think the child's going to believe you? And they go, no. Okay. So how come the aspects within you that you have ignored and abused your entire life and many lifetimes is going to sit there and believe you all of a sudden? It's not. So you need to start talking to yourself and building up the trust within you to say that I promise I will do my best not to put you down again. But you have to make that promise. I had to.
Keep that promise. Keep the promise as well.
You have to do it. You can't just, this is not about just words anymore. This is like, I am so committed to taking back my power that I am going to do everything and anything in my power. So each time I was hard on me, I caught myself and I said, I am sorry, please forgive me. Because you see, you're the only one that can do that. You can do all the years of therapy all you want. You can write out streams of books and whatever. But until you embody it, until it's a part of your being, nothing will matter. Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, these are things I really relate to. So one of the turning moments in my life is where I realized I still was telling myself stories and not being true with myself. So I'm saying I was going to do something and then go back to the boundaries thing, doing something for somebody else when I said I was going to do something for myself, or just completely letting myself down and taking the easy option rather than the thing that I actually wanted to do myself. You know, and yeah, I mean, when I stopped doing that, and it changed me, it changed my energy and everything. I mean, so relate to it.
You know, what I find interesting, Matt, is that you just said change. You know, it's people would look at me and they go, but it's not happening. I don't feel anything. I said, well, what have you been doing? What are you doing to make the change? Did you put Post-its up? Do you say, I love you? Do you forgive yourself? Well, not really. I said, so why are you coming here? Why are you spending the money? Because I'm not doing it for you. You either are committed to doing the work for yourself or don't do it. I mean, either way, it's perfect. Let yourself off the hook. If this is the journey that you want, where you're just going to say, I don't give a damn, then be okay with I don't give a damn and let it go and be miserable. It's fine with me.
Yeah. No, I think I couldn't agree more. I was having a conversation about this with somebody, and really, like, you've got to discover what is for you in this life. It may be sitting back and appreciating the beauty, and or it might be dedicating your life to helping people with less, or it could be anywhere in between. It could be any of those things, for sure.
It could be as simple as smiling every day. That could be your sole purpose, is just to smile at people. It's not complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that could be appreciating the beauty. The beauty makes you smile. So, I mean, and just to skip back, I mean, that's one of the things that really has been my message for 20 years, and was the realization I had in my 20s, is that we don't appreciate this gift of life. Whatever it is, to be able to experience this, to see this, to think about this, to contemplate this, to do the inner work and look at ourselves, to have all these experiences where we're like, oh, this isn't, and invest it. Wow, what a blessing to have all of that, in my opinion.
No, seriously, because every night, and I can say this for a long time, I go through this list, and it's like, Divine Mother, thank you. Thank you for all that you do for me, for all the gifts I've had today. And I'll rattle them off. Thank you for the car that gets me from point A to point B. Thank you for the food and the water. And then I thank my team and my angels. And I thank Mother Earth. And then I spend time thanking my body, thanking the body for all that it's doing, helping me breathe and digest my food and keeping me healthy and young. I mean, people were saying, well, you're getting older. I said, no, I'm sorry. I don't, that word does not exist in my vocabulary. I'm getting younger every day, and the organs in my body are healthier every day. So you see, it's how you speak to your body, to the aspects within you. It's just, it's what will present in your life. So I spend the time at night. And it may take 5 minutes, but I really focus on thanking everything and everyone that has been a part of the day, from having green sign lights all the way up the street, no red lights, for things that happen. The fluidity in my life is incredible. And boom, it shows up. I say thank you. I went and bought a few vegetables the other day, and I'm in the car and I said, thank you for these beautiful vegetables. People are saying, well, I should be only eating organic food. Yeah, that's very expensive. So what you do is you bless your food. You thank your food, and you ask the food to raise its vibration so it matches with your vibration. So therefore, you're helping rinse and bring up the energy within the food that you eat so that your body is healthier. Everything is within your control.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not, these are, I work with people and they say, wow, that's too simple. I know. Because we've been so conditioned that if we don't have enough pain in our life, then we're not learning. Well, that's bullshit. It's the simplest things that you do in life, as simple as smiling at the cash register, the cashier who's having a rough day, and just say hi and how are you. That will make that. So many times I walk in a store and I'm joking around with the people that are working there. I said, gee whiz, I can't I don't know where I'd be if you hadn't showed up to help me out. And they turn around and they look at you and they just feel like, wow, somebody's honoring me. It's not complicated, guys. It really isn't.
No, absolutely. I mean, again, so many of the things are the same conclusions and beliefs that I've adopted. Is that I used to call it, I got in big trouble with people on Facebook for using this phrase, what you think is what you get. Yeah. And God, that caused some major issues, just that one statement, and it came from some other stuff that I've been studying anyway. But I think it's true. If you focus, if you like you say, if you eat the organic food, non-organic food, and you focus on the fact that it's got what you've been told, it's covered in pesticides, and you've been told it's really bad for you, and you've been told all this stuff about it, and you don't really know because just isn't organic. You don't really know. You just bought it from the supermarket, and actually maybe this person nearly is an organic farmer but just doesn't quite pass it, so you don't really know. But that energy that you're putting towards like not appreciating that food in front of you is what causes the illness or illnesses and makes you unhealthy, is the ungratefulness for the gift that's in front of you. I love asking the food to raise its vibration bit, actually. Been really thanking all my food and thanking especially meat and things, the spirit within them, and looking at how the older tribes live when they go out hunting, and how they give thanks to the spirit within the animal and send it off on its journey. Really amazing. So I want to talk about healing. How does healing work? big question, so you can see.
Well, it's coming back to everything I've been saying.
Yeah. Well,
the healing works when you work. I mean, I can remember working with clients, and it was like, I would say to them, I said, it's almost like you think I'm going to take a wand and tap you on the top of your head and make everything perfect for you. I can't do that. I don't have the power to do that. No. Only you have the power to do that.
Yeah, and actually that's what healing works when you work. So would you say there's layers to healing?
Oh, for sure. Some people that I've worked with, I said, what you have to imagine is you're walking up a staircase. And each level that you walk is a different vision. It's a different level of awakening. And then someone would say, oh, I thought I really had this. And this happened the other day, and it feels like I've fallen all the way down the stairs again. I said, yeah, you have. But guess what? Because you know how you fell down the other stairs, you're going to walk up those stairs just as easily because you have all those new learning. Then you get to the next step. You take a deep breath and say, okay, I'm here. Because you see, the life we live is about learnings. There's no vacation. There's none. You can't go, the grass is not greener on the other side. So that is your soul's journey. Your soul's journey is to get up that staircase. And if it takes you 200 years to get up that staircase, then it's going to take you 200 years to get up that. It's not a race. So many people are out there, I got to read this book and I'm going to do that. And then, no, it's not a race. You can only process as much information that you can handle at that particular time. So when somebody said to me, one lovely client, and I go, so just remember that when you fall down, you'll get back up, you'll move back up those steps, and you'll stand on another step. The vision will be different, your perception will be different, and the lesson will be maybe harder. But you see, you have all those things you've learned before that's going to help you move up to the next. So yeah, we get knocked down. Because we can get really arrogant. Oh, I've got this. No, you don't. As soon as you say that, boom.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could, there's really, really good explanation there. Actually, I love the analogy with the stairs, because I mentioned earlier about the depression, and actually that was like, and the reason I'm mentioning this is because of the quick fix mentality, which you just touched on, is that, right, I've got a problem, I want it fixed now, you know, it's going to be fixed, I haven't got the patience, I need it done by next week because I'll go on to do this, this, and this. Well, depression was like this. It's like, don't want to be depressed, was the choice I made. How can I not be depressed? And there was so many layers to that. Yeah, there was changing the thoughts, the way I was thinking. Yeah. Then there was changing the beliefs that I'd inherited. Yeah. Then there was finding the courage to live life on my terms. Yeah.
Courage.
Yeah. And then there was the continuous living life on my terms and all these other things. And there was so many layers. And at times it was hard to appreciate how important each layer was and how necessary it was, because you really wanted to get to the end goal. But I didn't give in, and I mean, it took me about 5 years in total because of the meandering and doing it myself. And you know, but when I find each layer that went, now I look back, especially, was a new era in my life, you know, and it was really, really powerful, embracing.
There are no shortcuts.
No, there are no shortcuts. We chose to come and live this journey, and you know, we just got to embrace it and enjoy it and make the most of it and work out what is it we're here to do, and what is it we want to do while we're here. Maybe it's a better way of putting it.
There's something I wanted to share, which I think might be important to help people realize something about themselves. And I had a client who had gone through 2 divorces and was sitting in the third one. And she was so hard on all these men that she had and spent so much time putting them down. And so after about 10 minutes of listening to her, I stopped her and I said, I want you to go back to the first marriage and tell me what you discovered about yourself that you didn't know. And she looked at me, she said, well, he was this and he, no, I said, it's not about him. I want you to come back now and I want you to look at where you were and see yourself. What did you learn about yourself that you didn't know and you would never have learned because of him? Without him, you would never have discovered this within yourself. So she kind of sat there and fighting me, and then finally looked at it and said, oh, she said, I was pretty brave. And I said, why were you brave? She said, because I left. I said, yeah. So you are brave, right? She goes, yeah. I said, okay, go to the next one. What did you discover about yourself? Because now she was starting to see things from a different perspective. She wasn't holding him hostage. She was looking at the situation, saying, what is there for me to learn, to discover about myself? So she sat there, and then gradually she came to the conclusion. She said, oh my gosh, I'm worthy of it. I looked at her and said, what are you worthy of? I must be worthy of love because I left it. And I realized I didn't have it. And I realized it wasn't worth it. So I had to be worthy of it, because otherwise, why would I be there? So I'm worthy. And I said, yes, very good. And I said, now let's move to the third one. So she's taken the bravery and the worthiness. And I said, so what? I said, first, look at the 3 of them and what are they all the same? She said, they're similarly the same type of people. I said, interesting, eh? Similar behaviors, treated you in a similar way. So what's in the third relationship? And she sat there and she said, oh my gosh. She said, I think I got it. I said, what's that? And she said, none of them could give me what I want. And I said, what does she want? She said, I just want to be respected. And I said, and? She said, I guess I have to figure out where that is. I said, clever girl. So she went from being totally crazy and just putting down all these men that had been characters in her movie, and coming across realizing that she was brave because she felt she didn't have any bravery, nor did she feel she had any courage. But we forget what we've gone through in our life. So when she left, she said, oh my, she was like a whole new person. And she owned it because she felt it, you see. It wasn't words anymore. So what I can convey to people is to go back and look at your life, look at the situations in your life that caused you a lot of pain. No matter how painful, no matter what it was, go back and see it differently. See it, look at it and say, what is it I discovered about myself that I didn't know then? It will change your whole timeline.
Yeah. I mean, I'd highly recommend that to everyone as well. I did a show number 13, Food for Thought, was my own story. And I was completely honest about all of the mistakes I'd made and everything that I'd done and all the things that had hurt me. And I literally tried to get it all down and all out as a show. And it was one of the most empowering things I've ever done in my life, because I found 2 or 3 things that I still felt ashamed about. Yeah, and I was able to clear that energy. And it's only through revisiting them as the person I am now and knowing I'm not that person anymore. I'm not attached to that, I'm not living that moment anymore. That's the past. I'm who I am now, and it doesn't affect today. Really helped me clear so much energy, and yeah, I'm now thinking about going into even more depth about specific areas of my life where I actually did do a lot of things that I wasn't proud of, is the best way to put it. But I was off the wall at the time, and I was a teenager, and I didn't hurt anyone, didn't do anything like that, just made incredibly bad choices for myself. And like you were talking about earlier, didn't care for myself or respect myself. And
but that's your forgiveness, you see.
What's my forgiveness there?
Where you said there's some areas in your life that you need to go back to and address again. Oh. And going back to that is the forgiveness of yourself and letting yourself off the hook.
Yeah.
I tell people, you only know what you know, and it's and let yourself off the hook, because sometimes we're in situations where we don't know, and that's okay too.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's kind of what I mean is I'm actually going to do some shows and maybe some events and really work out what I learned from these situations.
Oh, I see.
And the things, yeah, so I can share. But yeah, I mean, forgiveness for me took a long time, because I was listening to the beliefs of everybody else and all the people in my life and society and all those things, and really I didn't do anything wrong. I did what I needed to do to get to where I am. And it could have been, and that I then, once I realized that, was able to forgive myself. But one of the things I am going to do is going to see how I feel when I say I'm sorry and I love you for the things I did do in the past, because I've definitely said a lot of sorries and I've definitely said a lot of I love yous, but I don't know if I've actually said them to myself in the same sentence. So yeah, let's see how that heals me. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because this is something that's really interests me, is group healing. How does group healing work?
Well, I think group healing is powerful because, somebody would say, if somebody has a situation or something that's not working for them, and you have 5 or 6 or 8 people in the group, typically, because we're all interconnected and we work as a collective, there's always going to be one person in the group that's going to be the one that's going to have the bravery or the courage to speak. And I believe that the other people that are there in the group have been all drawn to the same healing without knowing why they're there, other than the fact that something they're curious about. So when one person is sitting there, going through the process of rediscovering within themselves and forgiving themselves, because you see, a lot of the work that I do is repeat after me. So, and whether the person that I'm working with directly is usually repeating it, because again, the words carry a vibration, and the vibration is felt through the body, and it's like a pinball machine. It just runs, the pinball game runs and hits every energy field within you. So when one person is really struggling with something, you have the other energies there, because this is what we are. We are energies. We're all healers too, by the way. You just need a really good Sherpa who's going to show you how to put it all together. But the power of people working together as one, because you're hearing what this other person is feeling, and I would say that 99.9% of what people share, everyone has experienced at some level within this lifetime or any lifetime. And it's a trigger, and you get the trigger. And then the healing comes in, and the healing is as people's hearts start to open and expand, and it's kind of becomes very embracing. So you're in a group of embracement, and there's a space of the freedom to being who you are, and letting go of that judgment. And it just creates, it's like it's almost like a cushion that people are sitting on. You know, it's that ability to just allow yourself to release it. And as you do, you know, what people don't realize is that when you have a breakthrough, you are connected to millions of people behind you. We're all energy. So when you figure something out, when you have the courage to stand up and say no, you are standing up for millions of people. Every time I talk about this, I get God bumps. But it's so true, because we work together as a collective. And when I don't believe in big groups. I believe in small groups. It's just more intimate. But if you're with 6 or 8 people, and you see 6 or 8 people with millions of people connected to them, and they go through this healing, it's like an incredible wave that goes out and heals everything around them and within them and beyond where they stand. So, and a lot of times people might say, well, that was really I felt that was really powerful. And they say, but I didn't say anything. I said, you didn't need to, because always somebody there that is saying what needs to be heard. And then you feel it, because then, you know, a lot of people aren't aware of what it is. They kind of like have an idea. Oh, it's this is what I want. But you see, it's sometimes what you're coming to address is not what will be addressed, because your team connects with my team and they have a conversation, and my higher self and your higher self working together. And it's like you sometimes you just have to get out of your way and just allow things to unfold, and just to be with it and not to judge anything. Again, it's surrender and trust.
I absolutely love that. And I mean, the one thing that I really believe and have believed for 20 years is the healing gene, is what you're talking about here, which is acceptance. When you don't feel like you're being judged, and you don't feel the need to judge, you just accept yourself as you are and everything as it is. And that is a huge part of healing. And actually, I'm working on this theory of trying to understand, to do with love, is actually, like you say, it's not a verb, it's not something we do, it's an energy that we feel. And it's got that, the reason most of us don't feel it is because we've been programmed to believe it's to do with having a relationship. When actually having a relationship, what happens is we suddenly feel accepted, and somebody caring for us, and somebody to care for, and somebody who's going to accept our efforts without judgment and everything. And suddenly we feel love. Yeah, because we got this acceptance, but we've tied the connection to the relationship. Yeah. And ultimately, that's not how it is. It's all free flowing. And as you learn to accept yourself, you can start to love everyone and everything unconditionally, and feel love regularly and daily. And when you wake up until you go to bed, you know, obviously, depending on what you consume that day. Yeah. So, I mean, like, yeah, I absolutely love what you said, and the coach and the group healing as well. It reminds me so much of group coaching that I've been on. So, I mean, what I noticed, because I'm a very observant person, from all the group coaching that I've done, because I'm not really a high ticket person who goes for one-to-one coaching until recently, and I've had some really good coaches recently as well. So, but the group coaching, people say things that other people aren't even ready to say yet, or they're either because they're too scared to say it, or they haven't thought of it yet. But it's that group energy where something comes up that actually relates to 3 or 4 of the people, and they, like you say, they hear it, and that's enough for them to realize that's the thing they need to change. They almost feel it. They're like, yes, that's it, that's the thing I've been looking for in this, that's why I'm here. And it actually came from somebody else. And without the group coaching, it would actually take the coach individually months to find that answer, because he's asking the person to find their own answer. So very, very interesting. I like that a lot, and can completely relate.
Well, the other thing too is that I don't believe in high rates, and I think that there are a lot of people there that do want this type of guidance, and money is an issue.
Mhm.
So the beauty of doing these group sessions is that the cost is minimal, and that's the whole thing. It's just to make things so simple for people, and not to gouge people to hell. I mean, I've been gouged back and forth, and it's just insane. It's just absolutely insane. And the funny thing is that they're the insanity of the people who will pay. It's just insane. So
Yeah.
I love the group aspect, because there it's just such an easy vehicle to come into. And I know that some people go, oh yeah, but I don't want to share anything, and I don't want to, I don't want people to see me. And I think at the end of the day, it's what is important to you. And if this is going to simplify your life and help you walk more gently, then get out of your friggin' ego and just know in your heart. That, you see, it's coming back to your heart. What's it feel like? Does this feel okay? Because you see, it's how we've been conditioned to stay out of our heart. And the more that you feel you need to do something, because the word feel is vital. Not think, it's feel. You feel in your heart, say, does this feel right? Yeah, but what if? Nah. As soon as you question anything, you're screwed. Stay in your heart. Does this feel right? Yeah, it feels right. Well, let's do it. Yeah, but what? No, forget the yeah buts. Just go with what feels, and just say, okay, I've been stuck in these stories. My life is absolutely miserable. I am not happy. I want to be happy. This just might help me. You need to just give yourself the friggin' permission to do it, and to feel what feels right for the person. I mean, that's why there's so many of us now on the planet that are here to guide and help people maneuver through their maze of stories. And it's not one size fits all. When I work with people, I typically like to meet with them for about 10 or 20 minutes before we even agree to a session. Energetically, I have a feeling as to who they are, but they need to know. They need to feel within themselves that I am the right person that will show them or guide them. So it's the same thing with group things. It's just not everyone's going to come running to the way I feel and say, oh no, because we don't all resonate with the same crew. So that's okay. No big deal. Don't worry about it. Just open yourself up to the possibilities of doing something to change the behaviors and the beliefs that have trapped you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, what you're talking about there is something that I think takes practice, is learning to make decisions from the heart and really follow your heart. Because from my personal experience and through no fault of anybody else's, when I was younger, I had good intuition, but I wasn't allowed to follow it. And so I had to then start, I didn't have to, but I chose to start making logical, mind-led decisions, and they got me far. So I started following my mind rather than following my heart, you know, until my mind got me in trouble, and then I rewired my mind, and then it still got me in trouble. And only probably in the last, for a while in my late teens and 20s, I learned to really follow my heart, and as a kid. And then it came back in my 30s, and then I've really tuned into it in my 40s in the last couple of years. And yeah, really impressed, amazing stuff. So we're nearly at 2 hours, and so I've really enjoyed talking with you today. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I can't believe how time has flown.
I know, it's good, isn't it? So I mean, really thank you for everyone who's engaged here. So Sil says hi. Hey Bina, how are you doing? Some longer comments. Yeah, we're not programmed, I agree. Yeah, hi everybody else. And yeah, Dan, thank you for all your comments. He's along with us, agreeing with us and supporting us most of the way.
Hello, lovely Dan. I hope you're behaving and you're out of your little rabbit hole. Be a good boy.
Yeah, so you know Dan, do you? Because I texted him, but I didn't know who he was. Yeah, and I saw one friend in comment. I was going to guess it was you. So if anybody would like to connect with Christine and talk to her about, do you do group and one-to-one, or tell me?
I do both.
You do both, and either talk to her and connect with her and find out if she's the right person to help you, guide you, and help you navigate your timeline. Then you can contact her through her Facebook link, which is in the description of the event here. So it's in the video, either above or below, depending on where you're watching the video, or to the right hand side sometimes, all depending on how you're watching the video. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Christine. It's been a great day, and I'm sure we'll be back in the future.
Thank you, lovelies. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. And from my heart to yours, you've got this. We've got this together. So much love to you all.
Thank you, Christine. That was awesome. All right. Bye, everybody.